Okay, so you saw there was a lot of Sumerian-looking stuff. Well, the Sumerians appeared to be quite giant, and this is where the Anunnaki story comes from. Here you have Inanna, and notice that she's got her foot on a lion, and the lion is a 9-foot cat. So you're looking at a 12 to 13-foot tall human here. No, she doesn't look reptilian. She has a human face, but that lion is dwarfed by her. Then you have this guy on the throne, and the guys on the left are dwarfed by him. Again, suggesting that the original people who were here, who were apparently cannibals in the Book of the Watchers, were giants. Now, a lot of times on the old Egyptian walls, you see depictions of different types of humanoids, including humanoids with bird heads. These beings apparently are real, and they're called the avians. There are certain types of ETs that do have bird heads. They don't really look like that. This appears to be an oral legend, not based on eyewitness sightings, but there are actually people that have those bird heads out there. Notice, of course, here that in this temple, look at the height of the doorway. You see the people walking in? You see how much that dwarfs them? That would be perfect for these Anunnaki gods to show up. Now, the original Egyptian god Osiris apparently was very tall, had green skin, had an elongated skull that you see on that hat, and next to the Sphinx he built this stone structure, the Osirian, as you see right here, which is made out of huge blocks, some of which are 100 tons. Notice that he is pictured with some of these people that have like the bird heads. There's an avian there on the right. You got a guy that looks like a native there who has brown skin. Then you have a woman on the left who looks really a lot shorter than Osiris. She's only about half his height compared to him sitting on that throne. And notice again he has the elongated skull. So that's one of the original pharaohs, and over time as they stay on Earth, the Earth's energy fields get to them and they lose their height. That's one of the first things that apparently happens. But for the most part, they retain the elongated skull. So Akhenaten, 15th dynasty now, so 15 generations after Osiris, they've gotten a lot shorter. He lost the green skin, but he's still got the incredible skull. This is a sculpture of Akhenaten. And notice that his hat actually looks like the edge of a UFO, suggesting that he came in a craft that was aerodynamic like that. Very interesting headdress. This is his wife, Nefertiti, drawn with an elongated skull. Another shot, apparently, of Nefertiti or one of their kids, maybe Ramses. Here's another shot of Nefertiti with the elongated skull. You'll see this happens over and over again. And then what do? They call this an artistic style. This is their daughter, Meritaten. Now, do you really think that if a guy was commissioned to do a royal sculpture and he screwed up the way your head looks this much, and he cuts off all your hair, and he doubles the length of your cranium to create this weird, superhuman-looking monstrosity, if that wasn't the way they really looked, do you think he would have gotten out of that room alive? No, you're seeing it, and the Illuminati laugh at you. Because this is right out there at the German museum, the Berlin National Museum, and people say, oh, it was just an artistic style. No, this is the big secret of the Illuminati. This is their daughter thinking that it would look sexy to stick a piece of hair on one side of her bald head. I don't know. I think she ought to work on that look a little bit. I'm not really feeling it. Just call me crazy. Notice also this is Nefertiti's body, that she has apparently a longer spine than we do and more weight around the midsection. They all seem to have this funny little pot belly and a very narrow rib cage. It's different physiology. They're not quite the same. There's another shot of them with this really narrow rib and then the funny pot belly. Now here we see on the right people with elongated skulls, and on the left people bowing to them in supplication who have normal skulls. And notice that all the people with elongated skulls have winged discs that they're wearing on their heads, suggesting that they got here originally long ago in flying discs, and they are the descendants of the gods. The Illuminati trace themselves as the descendants of these people. Another strange place where we may have evidence of giants is the Cycladic Islands in Greece, the Cyclades, in which these weird sculptures show up that have no background. And they have these weird stylized heads. So here's a guy strumming some kind of harp or something. And notice the hat that he's wearing and the shape of his hands. This is actually Baal, the Roman god of the underworld. We'll get to him in a minute. So here's this Cycladic figurine strumming some kind of musical instrument. And they have this weird stylized look that, again, clearly suggests this is like an artistic rendering of somebody with an elongated skull, just like you see right here, where you have Meritaten's granite bust, and then that shows what the hats that they wear would look like worn on top of her head. So here is the Roman god Baal, the god of the underworld. Now, he was a giant. The eyewitness reports of Baal were that he was very large, 12 feet tall, and notice that he's got this ring around his elbow. That apparently is a technology that allows him to create telekinesis, to levitate objects, and to overpower people telepathically with his mind. So these sculptures are based on what people were seeing. And the one in the middle there is our good old friend from the Bohemian Grove. You know him as Moloch. That's right, the owl-headed god. So here he's got a bull head, but it's the same guy. So these people were wearing masks in some cases. They came here, and they were the giants, and they wanted human sacrifice. So look at this big guy on the throne, and there has been a war going on to stop this kind of bullshit from happening. And these people have now had their ass kicked. These giants are not on Earth anymore. We've gotten rid of them. But the war still isn't over. It's still ongoing. And apparently these giants, these Anunnaki, are still working through our governments and still trying to win this war that they now know they cannot win because it's too late for them. Once this solar system change happens, it's all over. So here's a few more images of this very giant warlord, this evil god that wanted human sacrifice, Baal. And you can see that in every image he has this weird elongated skull, just like you see with the Egyptian pharaohs. Now some of the good guys appear to be the ones from the Indian tradition. We have blue skin. Humans don't have blue skin, at least not here. The Maya have Quetzalcoatl, a white-skinned, bearded god, where nobody else had white skin. The Japanese were civilized by these folks called the Dogu, who look very different from us. That's an understatement. Plus, they're wearing some really cool space uniform. The Dogon, interesting. In Africa, this is a sculpture of them. Don't those eyes look awful familiar? So there's been a lot of ETs that have showed up all over the planet. The Australians have the Wandjina. Oh, they got stuck with the bad end of the stick on that one, didn't they? We don't like those types. Get those out of here. Now I want to show you that in addition to these paintings and sculptures, we have actual skeletons. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Most of these represent the long-aged descendants of the original giants when they've gotten down to our human height now, but they still retain the elongated skulls. Look at that skull in the middle. Look at how much larger that head is than the others. There's nothing natural about that. That is a totally different form. And that one on the left, they're trying to say that that's the result of head binding? Yeah. Yeah, right. Just tie some boards on your baby's head when he's born, and you're going to double or triple the height of his skull. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Something's going on here, folks, as you can see. These are the descendants of the giants, and this guy, Brian Forster, has been doing an amazing job of putting all this stuff together and finding new examples of these weird skulls. Now, even Discover Magazine, mainstream science, wrote about these so-called Boskop skulls, in which they totally show the difference between a regular human skull and the Boskops, which would have a brain size twice ours, so the least intelligent of them would have a 300 IQ, and they describe how these skulls have been found all over the planet, and they say it appears to be some different type of human life. Here's another example of giant skulls, this time found in a place in Siberia called Omsk. The skulls were so abnormal, so weird and scary looking, that the guys who found them actually started crying and quit their jobs. And if you got a job in Russia, that's a darn good thing to have. So this is not something that normally would happen. But they were freaked out. Because as you can see by the guy holding that in his hand, there's nothing normal about that skull at all. This was taken from a documentary on television about King Tut, the real King Tut. Again, looking and seeing an elongated skull. And this is actually a shot of people who still have elongated skulls, Boskop characteristics, in Africa. Certain tribes apparently still have the elongated skull. And it says it is censored. This is the only picture like it I could find. There's a little white box over her nipple that says censor, spelled S-E-N-S-O-R. Yeah, okay. I didn't do that. Okay, that's not me. Don't blame me. This is the only version of the picture I could find. And here's another one where the baby has got a very interesting hair, braided hair, going way, way up its skull. This is not normal. Now, this is 14th century Italian nobility. Remember, the Illuminati have said that they are the descendants of the giants. Turns out this bloodline, the Diest bloodline, is the central root that connects to all the different European Illuminati families. And they come out of Rome. Well, let's take a look at a picture of these people who like to stay low and undercover and notice if there's anything a little bit different about them. Whoa. Now you see why I wanted to leak all this on stage at once? I was looking at this picture at the airport, and I looked around at everybody's head I could find just to see if anybody had that elongated skull. At the airport, I couldn't find one dude or one woman that had this. Now, apparently, there's a lot of these types of people at the Vatican. They're called the Jesuits, and they wear those elongated hats at the Vatican, right? So they can walk around and blend in with the rest of us, and nobody suspects anything because they're always wearing the long hat to hide that skull. Okay, now these types of people will usually never run for office. They stay undercover. They stay in the background. We've had multiple insiders say that they have met with people who still have elongated skulls like this and are high-level insider Illuminatus people. And again, they look like the Egyptian pharaoh skulls. Same type of thing. The Huns, the original Mongolian invaders that conquered as they went to the west, also seem to have these elongated skulls and were descendants of giants as well. Now here's a series of Italian coins that all very clearly show his elongated skull. Most likely he's wearing a wig and he's bald, just like she apparently was bald. You could see she had hardly any hair. And the hairline on his wig doesn't look that good. It's just kind of like a straight line. So they didn't put a lot of work into this. It was the 1400s. I mean, cut him a break. Right?